What's happening, guys? So I wanted to talk a bit about Geoff Johns leaving DC and why this is a good thing, possibly a great thing. And he will definitely be missed for the properties he's not going to be writing, but he is going to put more focus towards the filming in his own studios. So they're still exclusive to DC, so it's not like DC is necessarily losing them. And I wanted to do this video because one of you guys tweeted me asking if he really left, like if it was true. And you know, like I replied to that tweet, I was saying yes and no. So the thing is, he started his own companies, Mad Ghost Productions, and the other one's The Killing Zone. So with those two, what he's doing is still exclusive to DC. But the way it works with him stepping out of the CCO position and Jim Lee stepping into that spot, you know, this is not like a reaction or something that wasn't thought out or planned. You know, just looking from the outside in, I kind of feel like it's not necessarily a coincidence either with the merger between AT&T and Time Warner, because with the way things are set up now as far as film wise for DC properties, and with Warner Brother, you know, their parent company is Time Warner. With Time Warner merged with AT&T, a few chairs at the top are going to be moved around, different people in charge. So that's why you see different shuffling happening underneath it. And this is just my perspective from a business point. And all we really know as a fact is that Jim Lee stepped in as chief creative officer, taking his position, you know, after he stepped down. Because if you look at it, you have the merger with AT&T and Time Warner, and then you have underneath Time Warner, even before the merger, you have Warner Brother, DC, and now you have his other two companies, Mad Ghost Productions and Killing Zone. So, you know, with these, they give the opportunity with Mad Ghost being the film and TV productions, more likely doing things exclusively for the streaming apps and whatnot. You also have the Killing Zone, which is focusing more on not as well-known comic characters, bringing them into the spotlight or whatnot. You know, with these other options here, the things that have been tied into Warner Brother film-wise, it's a good chance that with the new heads up top, they will look into other options under that umbrella, whether it be Mad Ghost Productions or Killing Zone, to execute things that were tied into Warner Brother before. Because I really feel like with him doing this and stepping out of that position, and especially with doing more research and looking at, you know, looking for sources that had quotes from Geoff Johns, and him saying that he wants to get into a position where he has more focus towards the creativity again, the writing, and being on set. And with him doing this and stepping out of the role he was before as CCO and starting his own company, it feels more like him picking up the gauntlet, you know, like Thanos, and just doing it himself. Because for a long time, he's been tied into the films before. Chief Creative Officer for DC, he's been a part of everything since like 2010 as far as creative products from the comics, so, and even in the film. So it's like all that time that he has been tied into that, he's had a lot of experience with writing and producing as well. So he is very equipped to handle this, and I believe he will do a fantastic job at even picking directors and even the staff to work under him to execute these projects, with this first one being Green Lantern, which is exciting because, you know, that could even be a starting point to kick off a new version of the DCEU. We'll have to see. We're a long way from that happening, but it could be a first step from shifting things over from one studio in that house to another. And I feel like the problem previously was in the position that he was in before, and the reason why he's moving out of that position is that his hands were tied. So how do you untie your hands? You step out of your position, get somebody else in it who's on the same page with you, and then you start another company from scratch. So the two of you can now make that agreement that said party wouldn't allow. Because it seems almost like over the years, or ever since, even before he became CCO, But it seems like over the years you have Time Warner and Warner Brother, and they do what they want to do. With the DC properties, they do it the way they want to do it. DC Comics may say this, that, or the third, and they go ahead and make their animated movies, and the animated movies come out great. But you know, DC and Time Warner, it's like they stick to their guns. But now with AT&T merging with Time Warner and things shifting over there, then you have people jumping ship with DC and really just making maneuvers to my screen falling asleep, but really just making maneuvers to free up in a new structure that will allow them to execute things and have the creative control, not just make it from the writing aspect, but all the way through to the delivery. And that's what I really feel like in a nutshell that Geoff Johns is doing. I mean, the only thing that we have solid right now is really just the name of the company and or the companies, both of them, Mad Ghost Productions and The Killing Zone. But I feel like that's kind of what he's aiming for with that. And if it's in just that name, The Killing Zone, like I don't really know what to think of it. At first I'm thinking in my mind, that's not a good name. But and I'm not, you know, a business exec in any form or fashion as far as the movie industry, but if there's a situation where you have, you know, your AT&T, Time Warner that merges, you have Warner Brother, DC Comics, you know, Mad Ghost Productions, and The Killing Zone. If there's anything as far as weighing between these, and then The Killing Zone's like the final one that actually makes it happen, that would be a very appropriate name for The Killing Zone. If it's the place where, you know, actually bringing the things into fruition actually happens. And that name, The Killing Zone, just with it being also geared around lesser known characters and bringing them to the forefront, it kind of, a lot of this really reminds me of Kevin Feige and the way he started out. Because, you know, back when he started Marvel Studios, it wasn't necessarily like he created Marvel Studios, but when he joined Marvel Studios and what he started there and the early success before it was sold to Disney so they can really have funding to execute the movies later, to execute more movies later on. The beginning stages of just that creative freedom and using what they had in the meantime in order to deliver films in the beginning, you know, because that's what The Killing Zone also sounds like. It sounds like the place where, you know, these lesser known characters are brought to the forefront because they're going to be featured in the films that come out first, which will, you know, create the value with Mad Ghost Productions. And then we'll start to see things trickle over from Warner Brother to Mad Ghost. That's just my thoughts on it. To me, it just sounds very Kevin Feige-esque, and just knowing that him and Feige have like a history, like a long friendship. Like I think like the first time Kevin Feige went to Comic-Con, Geoff Johns was there. You know, they had like the same first job together, like washing cars or something like that. But yeah, I feel like he may have passed some tips over, and Geoff Johns is doing what must be done in order to deliver the films with the stories that are in these comics that are so good and only like the comic readers really know about. Because a lot of you guys, you know, aside from Green Lantern, a lot of you guys, you probably already know, like when this channel first started out and I talked a lot about Ultimates comics, Geoff Johns, you know what I'm saying? Like Ultimates, like X-Men, Ultimates X-Men, Avengers. He did a few issues of Avengers. He did the first few of Ultimate X-Men. He did a Vision. He did a bit of a Vision story. I forget which one it was, but there's a few of them, man. Like even reaching all the way back then, but that was like way back when. That was like 2002, like way back when. But either way, those are just my thoughts as far as Geoff Johns leaving his position, stepping out, and creating these two studios, man. I really feel like that is the goal of what. Let me make sure I mentioned everything I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that's everything, man. Yeah, but yeah, I really feel like that was his purpose of doing this and executing it in this fashion. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me up in the comments below and we'll chop it up and talk about it. All right, later.